Welcome to all to lecture number 14 is the classification of crops. The remaining parts of the agronomic use classification we have discussed. So classification based on agronomical use. They are classified as first one is the cereal crops. Cereal crops is the a grass grown for its edible seeds and also known as a grain crop. Another example is the wheat, maize, rice, barley, oat, rye, triticale, sorghum, and millets. Then next crop is the forage crop. Forage crops which are grazed by the animals or harvested for green chop, hay, and silage. Plants material with a dry matter fiber content over 25% when these are harvested as a whole plants and cut for animal feed and they are termed as a fodder. Mostly belongs to the Gramineae or Leguminaceae family are fodder crops. An example is the maize, sorghum, grasses, clover. Then next crop is the fiber crop. So crop which are grown for their fiber, these are used is making a textile, ropes and rugs. Another example is the cotton, jute, flax, sunny, sisal and kenef. Then next one is the sugar crop. Those crops are used for sugar purpose. Means these are grown for content. Another example is the sugarcane, sugar beet and sweet sorghum. Then next one is the oilseed crop. Which crop are grown for the purpose of extracting the oil from their seeds. Example like rapeseeds, mustard, groundnut or peanut, sunflower, safflower, soybean, sesame and castor bean. Then pulse or grain legumes. Pulses crops. So pulses crop is the which crop are belong to family Leguminaceae and are grown for the edible seeds like a chickpea, pigeon pea, cowpea, lobia, mung bean, mash bean, faba bean, field bean, lentil. Then roots or tuber crops. Roots or tuber crops is the vegetable crops grown for underground parts like roots, bulbs, rhizome, combs and stems, tubers. Example like a carrot, radish, turnip, onion, garlic, potato is the tuber or root crops. Then what is a bulb? A rounded underground storage organ present in the some plants, notably those of lily family. Consistency of a short stem surrounded by the fleshy scale leaves or leaf bases lying a dormant over the winter is the onion. Onion is the bulb. Okay. Then a rhizome, a continuously growing a horizontal underground stem which puts a out lateral shoot and adventitious roots at intervals. Example like a ginger. Then combs, a rounded underground storage organs present in a consisting of a swollen stem base covered with a scale leaves. It is not a true bulb. Example like a taro and Chinese water cashew nut. Then tuber, a much thickened underground part of stem or rhizome serving as a food reserve and breaking buds from which new plants arise. Example like potato. So next one is the necrotic or drugs crops. Those crops which have some narcotic or drugs value. Example like poppy, opium poppy, tobacco, tea, coffee, peppermint. Then agronomic classification is the vegetable or garden crops. Crops which are grown for their edible leaves, shoot, flower, fruits and seeds. And their example is the asparagus, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, spinach, cucumber, pumpkin, tomato, eggplant, and okra is the vegetable crops, and these vegetable crops are grown as a garden crops. Condiments crops like spices crops which are grown and consumed as a condiments, example like coriander, mint, and chilies. Then green manure crops, so crops grown and plow under in the green and mature form in order to improve the soil fertility. Mostly these are legumes crops and it's called as a green manure crop. Example like the hincha and barsim and gora is the green manure crops. Then silage crop. So crops are cut and preserved as a silage in a succulent condition by the partial fermentation in the silos. Product is known as a silage. Performed mostly in a military dairy farms in a Pakistan. Example like oat, maize, soybean, sorghum, and grasses is the silage. Or haylage. Haylage is the silage made from the grass which has been partially dried. Dried part is called as the hay. So hay crops that are been moved and dried for use as a fodder. Example like wheat, oats, sorghum, and grasses. Soilage or green chop crop. So soilage or green chop crop is the those crops are harvested when still green and succulent and are fed directly to animals without currying, and this called as the soiling or zero grazing or green fed crops. Example like barsim, lucerne, or maize. This is the soiling crops. Then cover crops. Cover crops are planted to cover the ground and reduce the soil erosion and nutrient losses by the leaching. These are usually spreading the plants. An example are moth, mash, grasses, and rye. This is the cover crops. Then catch crops. Which crops are grown to till or fill in the when the major crops have failed or when planting is delayed for some reason and major crops cannot be raised successfully and called as the match maize and sorghum is the catch crops. So catch crop is the short duration crop. Then companion crops grown together as a mixture in a same field, it is also known as a polyculture. Usually legumes are grown mixed with grasses in order to increase the forage production and improve the forage quality, like barsim, barley, barsim, oat, maize, lobia is the intercropping or intermix cropping operations crops. Then relay crops. A relay crops is a one which is planted as a second crop after the first crop has reached its reproductive stage of growth, but before it is ready for harvest. And their example is the sugar cane and sugar beet. We see the examples of relay crops. Okay, this is the special agronomic uses classifications. Thank you.